What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and here we are with one of my favorite monthly series. This is the top 10 cards that exchanged hands on TCG Player the most last month. Now, you know how excited I get whenever I can get data straight from TCG Player. When we're thinking about marketplaces for buying and selling Pokemon cards, you know, eBay is number one, but TCG Player is number two, so I always consider any type of macro level data I can get from them incredibly relevant and incredibly important to me when I'm looking at what's going on in the hobby. Now, we're not just going to look at the cards. You know, I always over inundate us with all kinds of other ridiculous information too. So we're going to be looking at the cards and their prices. We're also going to be looking at either the booster box or elite trainer box that the cards come from, right? Not all cards have booster boxes. 151 is going to be on here. Spoiler alert. Obviously, those come from ETBs. And since I do this every single month, I use a star system to show the number of months these cards have been on this list consecutively. So if you're on it for 2 months and you fall off, guess what? No continuation. You start from scratch right here. And it is really, really fun to watch these cards and see how long they can stay on the list and the level of interest that proceeds over time. So with all of that being said, this is one of the really fun monthly videos that we do. If this kind of stuff excites you, hit that subscribe button. Questions or comments, drop them down below. And as always, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Those 3 small things go a long way in helping my small channel out. With all of that out of the way, before we ever get into what is on the list, we always talk about what has fallen off the list, right? Because that is just as important. Now listen, I have 5 cards on the screen, but 6 total have fallen off, and I'm saving a special slide for the 6th one here in a minute. But there are some really, really awesome cards that have fallen off this list from last month to this month. That base set Charizard, we have seen it over time. We've done this video for 10 consecutive months. It comes on the list and off the list, and I have no doubt it'll be back on the list again in the future. It is really interesting to see that awesome Iono fall off, though. I mean, that is one of the cards from Paldea Evolved that you know, it's one of the big reasons I think that set is so undervalued right now. Then we got one of the Charizards from Obsidian Flames. The big chase Charizard from 151 fell off the list, which I think is kind of interesting. And then, of course, the Charizard EX, another one from Obsidian Flames. As we all know, no shortage of Charizards in that set. Here's the special one, and I had to do it. I had to say the passing of a legend because, as I said, we've done this 10 consecutive months. Every single month up until now, the Lugia from Silver Tempest has been on there, and here it is. It's finally off the list. I don't know what to say. I feel kind of emotionally attached to this card. We've been talking about it every single month. Last month, it was in the number 10 position, so I just wanted to give it a proper send-off. I have no doubt it will be back on the list sometime in the future, but I salute you, Lugia V, alt art from Silver Tempest. You have been a shining beacon of joy here on this video series, so good luck to you, my friend. Now, for the ones that are on the list, coming in at number 10, the Gold Charizard EX from Obsidian Flames. Now, this is one that came out really, really hot and then proceeded to absolutely drop like a rock. Now, it has been on the list for 2 months in a row, which might be one of the reasons we're starting to see the price stabilize a little bit at $25. Now, this set is far too new for us to say, hey, this is what it's going to be for the long run. We'll just have to see how it all shakes out. But it does seem like, at least over the last couple of weeks, this is stabilizing at that $25 point, and the booster box seems to be stabilizing right there in the mid $90, high $90 range. So could that mean that the end is near for the Obsidian Flames price drops? Probably not, but it is at least exciting to see them stabilize a little bit for now. Now, the next one right here, this is why I love this series so much. So a couple months ago, Battle VIP Pass was on here, and we all know that it's not on here for its investability or its long-term collectability, right? It's on here because of the gameplay, right? Because of the effect it has in the TCG space. Well, guess what? It was on here a couple months ago, and what has happened since it's been off? The price has gone up, right? That's why I love this video. It tells you that a lot of people out there are really interested in it, and if you're more on the investing and collecting side like me, this gives us an idea that cards like this are actually getting really crazy because I don't look at them, right? This just isn't something that would be on my radar if I didn't do video series like this, and that's one of the reasons I find it so important. So Battle VIP Pass, salute to you. Look at that crazy price appreciation over the last 3 or 4 months. Really, really cool to see these TCG card specific plays doing really, really well. So then we're getting into number 8 right here. I kept it short. I kept it sweet. Squirtle. This is the most adorable card on the list, hands down. I will tell you right now, my youngest daughter is a huge fan of Squirtle, and I am going to get this card for her at some point because this just needs to be in her collection. So once it calms down a little bit and I can get a good PSA 10 copy of this, it will be in her collection. Now, look at the price. This is not what we typically see for these 151 and these newer sets when they come out. It is actually going up, which is really, really cool. Spoiler alert, I am just in the middle of putting together our in-demand, low-supply video for TCG Player. We do that every 2 weeks, and there's going to be a lot of 151 cards in there, and there's some really interesting price movement on there. So this Squirtle card is not alone, but really cool to see that so many people like me think the artwork is fire, and it's exchanging hands a lot on TCG Player. Now, another card that is driven by the TCG space, absolutely love Iono. I talked about her big chase card there at the beginning of the video and how it fell off, but because this card has such playability, it is still on the list. Another one where we've seen pretty decent price appreciation, and another one that for me, if it wasn't for the fact that I did videos like this, it would fly under the radar. It has been on here 2 months in a row, and I don't see this going anywhere anytime soon. Now, coming in at number 6 right here, it's back. It's back, everybody. How exciting is it to see the Moon Brion back on the list? And this is one that was a pretty steady Eddie shower here on the list, really for the first 6 or 7 months that we did it. And then really over the last 3 or 4 months, it has kind of started to be hit and miss. It's come on and off. And one of the things that I do for this card in this video series is I track the number of PSA 10s because I think that's incredibly relevant for this big chase card and what everybody thinks, and I agree, is going to be the card of the Sword and Shield era. Now, last time this was on the list, in the beginning of September, there was 8,300 PSA 10s. Now, in the beginning of November, so over the last 2 months, that population has increased to 9,100. So we have seen 800 additional PSA 10s show up in the last 2 months. What does that mean? I have no clue, right? We know there's still a lot of evolving skies out there to be ripped. We know there's a lot of sealed product out there. We have no idea how many more of these will be pulled and how many of these will be submitted. But to me, when I'm thinking about a $500 raw card, it's very important for me to go ahead and keep track of the number of PSA 10s just to see how that fluctuates in the future, because if nothing else, it'll be really cool for us when that next big chase card comes out, whatever that ends up being in the Scarlet and Violet era. The other thing I wanted to say that's really encouraging about this card is it went up, 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 and now we see it's been coming down pretty sharply, but look at that V pattern there on the far right. Look at all the support this card got right at the $500 mark. There was a period in time where it was in like the 490s, but the market said, we feel this is a $500 card, and you see that as soon as it got in that $500 range, people started piling back in, and the price shot right back up. That is incredibly, incredibly important. Now, I'm not saying that it's a $500 card. I'm not saying if it gets back down to 500, everybody should go ahead and invest in it. What I am saying is we need to keep an eye on those support lines in the future, because a card like this doesn't happen every single day, and we can learn a lot by watching this. Now, coming in at number 5 is this Mew EX, not a high dollar card, but another one that is getting a lot of love from 151. 151 is obviously a Mew set. Obviously, this card is very playable in the TCG space. Obviously, this card is freaking adorable. Like, I love everything about this card. So, not surprised to see it exchanging hands a lot, and for a $7 card, really, really easy to load your deck with it if this is something that you want to do on the playing side of things. Then, coming in at number 4, I love this Charmander card. I have been very open and honest. I said, you know, the Charizard from 151, the big chase one, it's not my favorite artwork. I actually prefer this Charmander artwork right here. And I always talk about the Pokemon pop and flop. Look at this. This is almost like the Pokemon W, right? It started off, it dropped, then it shot back up, then it dropped, and now it is slowly working its way back up again. Now, what I really like to see is that nice smooth growth line right there. That shows organic growth. That shows that it's not just doing that crazy W, the pop and flop and pop again. So the long-term prospects of this card, who knows? All of these 151s are going to be very dependent on supply. We all know that the demand is going to be there, but we don't know how much supply is going to be there in the future. I think the artwork's awesome. I think there's a ton of great cards in this. I know I love 151 because it's bringing a lot of people back into Pokemon collecting and investing and playing. So all of good things from 151, but supply is going to be the thing to watch in the future. Then, coming in at number 3 for is Seal Stone. It is just the gift that keeps on giving. It refuses to go anywhere. Now, I will say this. This is going to be in a League Battle deck. I believe that's dropping here in November. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what the price of this card does. Like, it's got to come down in my mind, because people who don't want to pull it, people who don't want to pay on the secondary market for it, they can just go out and buy this League Battle deck, which has a lot of other awesome cards in it, and get 1/4 Seal Stone in it. So it's going to be really interesting to watch how this price moves in the future, knowing that it has been on an absolute tear really for the last year. This has been one that's been on the list, off the list, and another reason why this is such a cool video for us to keep an eye on, such cool information for us to keep our fingers on the pulse of, and this is just really, really cool stuff. So hats off to you for Seal Stone. Now, coming in at number 2, another card I'm so incredibly excited about. This is the Erica's Invitation right here from Scarlet and Violet. The artwork on this is absolutely fire. I think that a lot of the other Pokemon cards, not trainer cards, but the Pokemon cards from 151 are getting all of the attention right now, and that's why this one's falling under the radar. I think in the long run, this card is going to be a great, great pickup. Now, am I buying it at $30? I'm not. I'm just going to sit on the sidelines and watch for a while, but when you see this climb all the way to number 2 on the list, it lets you know that there's a lot of people out there who are starting to think that the price is getting right. People are starting to say, hey, listen, at $30, we believe in the long run this is going to be a lot more expensive than $30, so people are starting to pile in, and that's why we see it exchanging hands a lot on TCG Player. Now, coming in at number 1, back-to-back for the Zard and Obsidian Flames. How freaking cool is this? I love to see it when a card remains at number 1 for 2 consecutive months, and this card has done just that. Say what you want about Obsidian Flames, say what you want about Terra Charizard, say what you want about Zards with crowns on their head. I know there's like 5 million of them out there, but the reality is for the last 2 months, people have been buying and selling this in incredible volumes on TCG Player. What does that mean for the long-term value of the card? I think that's yet to be determined. I don't think Obsidian Flames, is going to go down as the most expensive set in the history of Pokemon simply because the pull rates are so high. But I do think that this is an exciting thing to keep an eye on. I think this is a cool card, and I think it does give some validation to the fact that people are still really in love with the Fire Lizard, obviously, and people are still excited about Scarlet and Violet, right? Seeing all these Scarlet and Violet cards at the very top gets me really, really, really excited. Now, with all that being said, we've done this 10 consecutive months. If you thought this was cool, if you like macro data like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Questions or comments, drop them down below. As always, give us a thumbs up. And we have some really cool data coming up here. As I said earlier in the video, we're doing our high demand, low supply cards from TCG Player here on Wednesday, and that's got some really cool information on it you don't want to miss. So listen, you guys have an epic one. I appreciate you, and have an awesome rest of the day.